What's up, guys? Welcome to the review of episode 2 of Dexter New Blood. So, a few things I discovered with this episode. Dexter, as a matter of fact, was in Oregon, which I last time thought I was mistaken, but apparently I was right all along, which is good. He was in Oregon. We discovered this from Harrison when he mentions that he went on his search. And then he moved to New York for whatever reason, which is not really mentioned, but he just quit his job in Oregon and moved to whatever lake, New York. I'm blanking on that. Silver Lake, I think, or something like that. Another thing we find out, actually, is that Hannah is dead. Hannah, who Harrison was left with at the end of season 8. And it's kind of a way to not have to reintroduce her character, because as I was thinking after watching episode 1, I don't really know how they would reintroduce her anyway. So it's not really a cop-out. I would say it's just a good, convenient way to kind of get further away from the last 8 seasons and continue with something new, New Blood. And I like how they have Harrison kind of keep the story going forward. I'm not too sure how I feel about Harrison as a character because he's very underdeveloped so far, but he's definitely fitting for this kind of show and this kind of plot that they're going for. So we find out those things. It's a very awkward introduction between Dexter and him, obviously, because he's the estranged son and Dexter's the estranged father, and they really have nothing to talk about. It's actually a funny conversation between them at the beginning of the episode. Deb is hilarious. She's getting very aggressive with Dexter because she absolutely hates his decision-making as his new dark passenger, and she gives it to him. Like, the thing she says, like, at the beginning, she's like tapping a bullet on the window, and then she shows him the bullet, and it's like, if you don't ruin Harrison's life, you're going to destroy your own, or whatever, and like shoves the bullet down his throat. I thought that was crazy. Then we have the cops basically raid Dexter's cabin because of the missing body, or the missing person, I should say, of Matt Caldwell. And they're just assuming that he either skipped town or froze to death in the forest, but basically they're on a search, and Dexter is obviously in worry mode again, because one thing I forgot to mention in episode 1 is that Dexter, for obvious reasons, is very clumsy. I was shocked to see how clumsy he was. I knew he was going to be rough around the edges with his first kill in like 9 years, but leaving as much blood as he did around the cabin, from the little shed to his cabin, was ridiculous. And in this episode, he convinces the search team police officers to go basically on his own search with his son, and he's driving this four-wheeler kind of vehicle through the woods, and he's covering up the trails of blood, which there's like 5 throughout the place where Matt Caldwell shot the deer to his cabin, and he's trying to run over the blood because I don't see how he got away with it, but like with having his son sitting beside him in the vehicle, and he's swerving trying to run over the blood spots, and I'm like, Dexter, man, you were so clumsy. You are so gonna get caught on this one. But he's trying to stay one step ahead of the police force, as he always has. And he's smart in that sense. He did a pretty good job covering that up. I like how he uses Matt's glove as a like a piece of evidence, and he places it on the highway so it looks like Matt actually did skip town, and it had the matching blood of the deer that Matt killed. So that was really smart on Dexter's part. There's a scene where Harrison ends up meeting Audrey, which is it is Allison, right? Did I get that right? Angela, sorry. Angela's daughter, Audrey. He ends up meeting her. It's funny because Dexter's tells him, he's like, you could just go chill in the cabin. I know how hard and awkward it is to meet new people when you're in a new place. And I'm like, Harrison just really doesn't seem the type that would be shy. He doesn't seem like the type that would be awkward or have a problem meeting people. And he doesn't, because he walks right up to Audrey and he starts a conversation with her, and they get to know each other, and then she invites him to go on a search and rescue mission, which really means going to a cabin and partying. But yeah, I was like, yeah, Harrison doesn't seem shy. Harrison seems like he has no problem meeting people. and he doesn't. He's very opposite of Dexter in that sense. One of Audrey's friends, I swear, looks and sounds exactly like Justin Long. I don't know how many people are going to notice that, but he looks and sounds exactly like Justin Long, like he's his younger, basically twin brother. They look and sound exactly the same. I was like, holy shit, that looks like Justin Long did 10 or 15 years ago. Like in the Jeepers Creepers days, it looks exactly the same, except more facial hair. But that's one thing I learned. I'm like, I gotta look this kid up. I think his name is Scott. I'm like, I wonder if this kid is related to Justin Long, because the resemblances are there. So we also get, along with this cop investigation search party thing, we get this subplot where we're introduced to what I'm assuming is some sex trafficking going on. All we get is this girl in this hotel room. Starts off with a bottle of champagne and some fruit, some kind of plums or something like that. So she eats that, and then we find out that she got sick out of it, so we're assuming it's poisoned. And she's sick and sleeping it off for pretty much the remainder of the episode. And then closer to the end of the episode, she wakes up and feels better, but then she realizes that she's locked in this hotel. I'm guessing this girl, at least she looks like the girl in episode 1 who was at the bar where Angela gave her some money and told her to stay wherever she wanted because she was a runaway. At least that's what Angela assumed that she was. So Angela helped her out, kind of thing. So I think it's the same girl, but it might be a completely different girl. I'm not 100% sure. She realizes that she's locked in this hotel and the door's like bolted and she can't get out. Surprised it took her that long to notice, and I'm wondering how did she not know that somebody put her in there? Like, she went in there voluntarily and then somebody locked her in there? Maybe because there's this guy watching her and there's cameras on the corner of the room, which is another thing I'm surprised you didn't notice, because the cameras are not small. There's 3 of them and they're white and they have red lights on them, so they're not like hidden or anything. They're right there. But she only finds out at like the end of the episode, really. I guess maybe it's because the majority of the time she was in there, she was sleeping off a poison, basically. But it just, I'm wondering if she went in there, like if she checked herself in and then this sex trafficking ring dude bolted the door shut and maybe owns the hotel and just locks girls in there that willingly go in and for a night or whatnot. I don't know. The plot is very starting off. It doesn't explain too much on that end, but we're introduced to this girl. She's now locked in a hotel, and we know that there's this kingpin watching her for, I'm assuming, sex trafficking, but it could be something else, who knows. But yeah, it was a cool episode. We get a little bit more of Dexter and Angela's relationship. When Harrison comes along, Angela is shocked because Dexter has never mentioned that he had a son, and Dexter gets very worried that Angela's gonna, flip a lid and not want to be with him anymore or question him too much or whatnot. But yeah, and lastly, we meet Kurt Coldwell, which is Matt Caldwell's father. He seems very down to earth and very calm and collected, and very different than Matt. I'm surprised to see that how different he is than Matt. Like, I'd be surprised if this guy ends up being the main villain, because he seems like he's really community focused and loves his son, as imperfect as he is, and seems like he's been involved a lot in the community and somebody that you would trust. So if he does a U-turn and ends up being the villain, I would be surprised on him, because he seems like a really nice guy and very different than what you would think Matt's father would be like so far. So that's Dexter episode 2. It was neat. It definitely introduces a lot that could go in any direction, really, and leaves me excited for episode 3 and the rest of the season. So that's what I got on that. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more, doing this whole series as well as the Chucky series, and yeah, there's lots more reviews to come. So subscribe if you like, and I will chat later. Take care and cheers.